So today's video is all about CCTV footage, which seems normal on the surface, but have chilling backstories. Also, we've finally hit 10,000 subs. So I just wanted to take a minute and tell you guys how grateful I am for the love and support you've shown me so far. It definitely made a difference and just makes this experience so much better for me. I mean, it would have been a completely different and somewhat darker place without your comments and presence. Once again, I love you guys and thank you so much. I won't waste more of your time, so let me just start the video. Enjoy. Trevor Deely. Trevor Deely was a 22-year-old computer worker living in Dublin, Ireland. On the night of Thursday, December 7th, 2000, he went out to his company's Christmas party with his co-workers. They moved from place to place throughout the night and eventually ended up at a nightclub. At around 3:25 a.m. on Friday, December 8th, Trevor left the club by himself. It was raining heavily, and there was a taxi strike going on in the city. Instead of walking all the way back to his apartment, he decided to go to his office building nearby, which was only a few minutes away. It's unclear why Trevor went to work in the middle of the night, especially after drinking. Maybe he just wanted to check something quickly, or maybe he was trying to stay dry during the storm. Security cameras at the rear gate of the office building captured Trevor walking in around 3:35 a.m. Also shown on the footage was a man dressed all in black, who had been standing near the gate since about 3:05 a.m. When Trevor arrived, the two seemed to have a short conversation through the gate. Then Trevor entered the building. Inside, Trevor checked his email and had a cup of coffee with a coworker who was working the night shift. The coworker later said Trevor seemed a little tipsy but was in a good mood and wasn't too drunk. After spending about 20 minutes there, Trevor picked up a large black umbrella from the office to help with the rain and left the building at 4:02 a.m. Around that time, he left a short voicemail for a friend. It didn't sound like anything serious was going on, but no one ever heard from Trevor again after that. At 4:14 a.m., CCTV footage showed Trevor walking past an ATM. About 30 seconds later, a man dressed in black walked past the same ATM, heading in the same direction. The footage was not clear enough to confirm if it was the same man seen earlier at the office gate, but it looked like it could have been. Despite public appeals asking this man to come forward, he never did, and his identity remains unknown. At first, no one was alarmed when Trevor didn't show up for work later that Friday. Since he had been out late the night before, his coworkers thought he might have taken the day off to rest. However, when he still didn't show up on Monday, December 11th, his friends and family became very worried. Trevor shared an apartment with two flatmates who were out of town that weekend, so nobody at home noticed he was missing right away. His sister tried calling him multiple times over the weekend. She believed the phone rang on Saturday and Sunday, but started going straight to voicemail on Monday. If that's true, it would mean Trevor's phone was still working for 2 days after he disappeared. The police began a wide search. They looked through hours of CCTV footage and shared images with the public, asking for help in identifying the man in black. They also searched the Grand Canal, the River Dodder, and a nearby canal basin, as Trevor's usual walking route home passed by these bodies of water. None of these searches turned up Trevor's body, his umbrella, or his phone. These areas were searched in clear conditions, and the police were confident that if Trevor had fallen in, he would have been found. Another unusual factor was that President Bill Clinton was due to visit Dublin just a few days later, on December 12th. His security team, along with Irish police, had already checked and cleared the area where Trevor had disappeared. They found no sign of foul play, and this made it harder to find any clues afterward, as the area had been fully cleaned and secured. Adding more mystery to the case, it was revealed that just 1 week before Trevor vanished, he had traveled all the way to Alaska. He went there to see a woman he liked, even though she had tried to discourage him from coming. The trip didn't go well, and some people believe he might have been feeling rejected or sad afterward. Some wonder if he might have checked his email that night and seen something upsetting. Still, even if that were true, all of the nearby rivers and canals were searched, and nothing was found. In 2017, a new tip came in. Someone told the police that a known criminal had once confessed to attacking Trevor. According to this story, Trevor was beaten, put in the trunk of a car, and taken to a house where he was threatened with a gun. The gun supposedly went off by accident, and the man buried Trevor's body in a drain. Based on this information, the police dug up a wooded area about 8 kilometers away from where Trevor was last seen. After weeks of searching, they found nothing. The tip is now believed to be unreliable. In 2018, Trevor's father made a public plea for information. A reward of £100,000 was offered for any details that could help solve the case. Even with this large reward, no one came forward with any useful information. Today, the case remains one of Ireland's most confusing and heartbreaking disappearances. Trevor Deely simply vanished, and no one knows exactly how or why. Georgetown, Ontario is a small, peaceful town where people feel safe. It's the kind of place where neighbors know each other, kids play outside, and no one expects anything bad to happen. But on the morning of February 17, 2021, something terrible changed that feeling forever. At 5:30 a.m., a loud explosion woke up the quiet neighborhood of Hidden Lake Trail. A fire had broken out at the home of Christina and Andrzej Rerak. A neighbor called emergency services at 5:35 a.m., and soon firefighters arrived. By the time they got there, half of the house was already burning. More than 26 firefighters worked hard to put out the flames. A neighbor even took a video from across the street, showing how big the fire was. When the fire was finally under control, firefighters made a horrible discovery in the garage. Inside the rubble, they found the remains of 2 people. At first, police did not say who the victims were, but people in the area feared the worst, that it was Christina and Andrzej Rerak, the homeowners. Sadly, those fears were later confirmed. The couple was known as kind, friendly people. At first, many thought this was just a sad accident, but as investigators looked closer, something didn't seem right. One neighbor had a security camera that showed something strange the night before the fire. At 6:24 p.m. on February 16, the Rerak's car pulled into the driveway. A dark figure could be seen standing at the side of the house. As the garage door opened and the car pulled in, the figure quietly followed it into the garage. It seemed like the person driving didn't notice anyone else coming in. Just as the garage door closed, the figure bent down, possibly to stay out of sight or look inside the car. That was the last time anyone saw the couple alive. Early the next morning, at 5:27 a.m., the garage exploded. The fire spread quickly and destroyed much of the house. Some neighbors said they saw the flames just minutes later, and one whole side of the house was already on fire within 10 to 15 minutes. Later, police said a car was seen speeding away from the area, even driving past emergency vehicles. After autopsies were done, something shocking was discovered. There was no smoke in the lungs of Christina and Andrzej. This meant they did not die from the fire. This changed everything. What first seemed like a tragic accident now looked like a crime. Because of these clues, the police treated the case as suspicious. On February 19th, the Halton Regional Police's homicide team took over the investigation. They believed the fire may have been set on purpose to hide a murder. Then, for more than a month, the community waited. People were scared and confused. Finally, on March 29, 2021, police made an arrest. A 27-year-old man named Harrison Brown was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of arson. He was taken to jail and has stayed there, waiting for his trial. Police did not give many details about how they found Brown or what his motive might have been, but they did say that he was a business partner of Andrzej Rerak. On December 1, 2023, Brown was sentenced to life in prison with no parole eligibility for 25 years. Louise Smith's murderer leaving the crime scene. This story happened on May 8, 2020, in Havant, a town in the United Kingdom. Louise Smith was a 16-year-old girl. She loved animals and dreamed of becoming a veterinarian. Sadly, Louise also struggled with depression and anxiety. She was described as a kind but vulnerable girl. She sometimes argued with her mom because she wanted more freedom and to spend more time with her boyfriend, Bradley. Due to problems at home and concerns about her safety, social workers were involved in her life. She was put on a child in need plan because she was at risk of abuse and neglect. At the end of April 2020, Louise decided to leave her mother's home. She moved in with her aunt, CJ Mays, and CJ's husband, Shane Mays. They were both 29 years old. At first, things went well. Louise even started calling them mom and dad. But the UK was in lockdown at the time, so Louise couldn't live the independent life she wanted. Over time, things at her aunt's house got worse. On May 7th, Louise sent messages to her friends saying she wanted to leave CJ and Shane's home. She said they were treating her like a child and that Shane had been acting in a creepy way toward her. She told her friends that Shane had tried to flirt with her and even sent them a video of him tickling her feet. Louise reached out to a woman named Samantha Bird who offered her a safe place to stay. Samantha even said that Bradley could stay too. Louise and Bradley were happy with this plan. But when CJ found out, she begged Louise to stay. CJ called and messaged Louise over 50 times. Eventually, Louise agreed to stay. That evening, Shane and Louise were seen together on CCTV going to the store, and Shane bought her alcohol. Louise drank heavily that night and told her friends she passed out. She also called a mental health helpline, saying she was feeling very low. On May 8th, Louise texted her friends around 12:50 p.m. for the last time. She had made plans to meet Bradley at 3 p.m. that day. When Bradley showed up at CJ and Shane's house, CJ said Louise had gone out and hadn't come back. Shane wasn't home at the time. Bradley tried calling and messaging Louise, but got no reply. Shane returned around 4 p.m. When asked if he had seen Louise, he said he walked her to the park and then left her so she could meet her friends. He claimed he went to see his mother after that. As more time passed and no one heard from Louise, people started to worry. At 6:32 p.m., CJ called the police to report her missing. A search began right away. The last contact Louise had with anyone was at 12:50 p.m. on Snapchat. Her phone died at 5:01 p.m. Bradley's phone showed he was near an area called Havant Thicket around 4 p.m. Police questioned CJ and Shane. Shane changed his story. Now he said he walked Louise to a Tesco store instead of the park. But when police checked CCTV footage, Louise and Shane were not seen anywhere on that route. This made police suspicious. They also learned more about Louise's plans to move out. On May 15th, CJ and Shane were arrested on suspicion of kidnapping, but were released due to a lack of solid evidence. On May 21st, Louise's body was found in the woods at Havant Thicket. The injuries were so bad she couldn't be recognized. On May 27th, CJ and Shane were arrested again, this time for murder. CCTV showed Shane leaving the woods near where Louise's body was found. There was no evidence that CJ helped with the murder, so she was released again. Shane was put on trial. He first denied killing Louise, but on the first day of the trial in November 2020, he changed his story. He said he didn't mean to kill her and pleaded guilty to manslaughter, not murder. Shane claimed Louise hit him with a stick, so he got angry and punched her. He said he lost control and didn't remember the rest, but the jury didn't believe him. Shane was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 25 years. Louise's mother spoke in court. She described her daughter as a happy, strong-willed girl with a bright future. Later, a lawyer tried to appeal Shane's sentence, saying it was too short, but the appeal was denied. As of now, Shane remains in prison. Many people hope he never gets out. Sherri Papini. Sherri Papini was born on June 11, 1982, and lived in Redding, California. When she was 16, she ran away from home, but later came back. In 2000, her father told police that she broke into his house. In 2003, he also said she took money from his bank account without permission. In 2006, Sherri married a man named David Griffiths, but they divorced 2 years later. In 2009, she married Keith Papini. They had 2 children and lived in a quiet area near Redding. By late 2015, Sherri started secretly talking to an old boyfriend, James Rise. They used prepaid phones so no one would find out. On November 2, 2016, Keith called the police around 5:50 p.m. He said Sherri was missing. He found her phone and earbuds on the ground near their home. Her hair was tangled in the earbuds. Police looked everywhere but found no clues. A witness said they saw Sherri jogging that morning. Her purse and bank account hadn't been touched. On November 24, 2016, 22 days later, people called 911 after seeing a woman on Interstate 5. Police found Sherri with a chain around her waist and other signs of being tied up. She had bruises, burns, and a swollen nose. She was also branded on her back. But what was strange, which the police only discovered much later, is that the mum of two, who claims to have been kidnapped, is filmed running around a car park hours before being found bound with chains. So how could this possibly be? Sherri told police she was kidnapped while jogging. She said two Hispanic women in a dark SUV stopped and asked for help. One had a gun. Sherri said she put her phone down, then woke up tied in a room. She said the women hurt her for weeks, then one dropped her off by the road. Police didn't believe everything she said. Kidnappings by women are very rare. But they couldn't prove she was lying right away. 4 days later, Sherri asked the California Victim Compensation Board for help. Over the years, she received over $30,000, mostly for therapy. Later, police found DNA from a man on her clothes. This confused them because Sherri had said she was only around two women. It took until 2020 to match the DNA. It belonged to James Reyes, her old boyfriend. Police spoke to James in August 2020. At first, he lied, but then admitted Sherri had stayed with him during the time she was missing. He said she never left the house and had asked him to hurt her, even brand her with a wood-burning tool. She told James she wanted to get away from Keith. Eventually, Sherri said she missed her kids and wanted to go back home. James drove her back and dropped her off. 3 days after speaking with James, the FBI talked to Sherri. They warned her that lying to them was a crime. She still said she was telling the truth. On March 3, 2022, Sherri was arrested and charged with lying to the police and mail fraud. In April 2022, she admitted to making it all up and was sentenced to 18 months in prison. She also had to pay over $300,000 back. She went to prison in November 2022. Her husband Keith divorced her, and she lost custody of their children. In August 2023, Sherri was released and went to live with her parents. She now said James really did kidnap her and hurt her. She also accused Keith of treating her badly. Both men denied these claims. Sherri said she was unhappy in her marriage. Keith made her sign a legal agreement that said she would get nothing if they divorced. After losing her job, she started talking to James again. Sherri claimed James came to say goodbye, but instead took her. She said she woke up tied in his house. She claimed he hurt her, and she made up the kidnapping story to get him to let her go. She didn't tell police the truth because she was scared James would come after her and didn't want Keith to know about the affair. She also said James's mother was Hispanic, possibly to support her story about Hispanic kidnappers. But James's mother is Irish. Many people believe Sherri made up the whole thing. On the night of Wednesday, July 29, 2015, Stephen Mackerel went out with his brother and a few friends to Lucky's Tavern, a busy bar in downtown Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Stephen's brother left the bar around 11 p.m. because he had to work early the next day. He noticed Stephen was drunk and told him to drive safely and go home. But Stephen wasn't ready to end the night. At around 1:30 a.m., Stephen and his friends left the bar. They planned to meet in the parking lot of a nearby Walgreens to decide what to do next. However, Stephen never showed up at Walgreens, and that was the last time his friends ever saw him. He lived with his parents and worked as a professional poker dealer at a casino in Hallandale Beach. When he didn't come home the next day and didn't show up to work, his family knew something was wrong. Police said there were several security cameras in the area where Stephen was last seen, but it could take weeks to collect all the video. While waiting for the footage, police talked to Stephen's friends and family. At first, they thought he might have had a car accident since he was drunk that night. They searched many lakes and ponds nearby but didn't find anything. The search became harder when they realized Stephen's phone had died at the bar. Since it was never turned back on, they couldn't use it to find where he went. Stephen was 25 years old when he disappeared. He had a 1-year-old daughter and a longtime girlfriend, and he was planning to get married. His loved ones said he was not the type of person to just leave his life behind. About 2 weeks after he went missing, police found out Stephen had used his credit card at a gas station in Pompano Beach, about an hour after leaving the bar. The gas station was around 15 miles away, and no one knew why he went there. Security footage from the gas station showed Stephen entering the store at 2:26 a.m. He looked very drunk and stumbled as he picked out snacks. He didn't cause any trouble, and the store owner didn't seem concerned. After paying with his card, he briefly chatted with two young women inside the store. That part of the conversation wasn't caught on camera. A week later, police got more footage from the gas station that changed everything. In this video, Stephen is seen standing next to his white 2013 Ford Fusion in the parking lot. He seems to get into an argument with the driver of a silver car. As the silver car drives away, Stephen steps back and throws his drink at it. He also waves his hands angrily at the driver before getting into his own car. 3 minutes later, the silver car comes back and pulls in behind Stephen's car. It's unclear what the driver wanted, but soon after, Stephen drives away, and the silver car speeds off right behind him. That was the last time anyone saw Stephen alive. Police said the man driving the silver car was a shirtless African-American man who had gone into the gas station a few minutes earlier. They have never been able to identify him. For the past 8 years, police in Fort Lauderdale have been searching for Stephen's car. The license plate has never been picked up by any scanner, which means the car likely never left the area. Search teams have looked in more than 20 different lakes, canals, and ponds. Even though they've found nearly 20 other vehicles, including some that had been stolen or had bullet holes, none of them were Stephen's. Police don't know if Stephen had an accident or if someone did something to him. His car, phone, and any other clues are still missing. His family is still waiting for the truth. In 2020, police shared CCTV footage of a 36-year-old woman named Odessa Carey. The footage showed her walking down a street in Ashington, Northumberland, England. In one hand, she carried a white plastic bag, and over her shoulder, she had a blue bag. At first glance, Odessa looked like just a regular person walking down the street, but no one could have imagined the horrible thing she was hiding in her blue bag. It was later revealed that, at the time the footage was recorded, Odessa was on her way to visit a family friend named John Murray. This happened one day before she was arrested. John Murray told police that when Odessa arrived at his home, he noticed she had blood on her hands and arms. She then cleaned herself using some baby wipes. After that, she opened her blue bag and showed him something truly shocking, the remains of her own mother. He was horrified and didn't know what to do. Sadly, he didn't own a phone, so he couldn't call the police right away. Instead, he walked to a nearby pub and told someone there what he had seen. That person called the police the next day. Police later found Odessa at a house on Morpeth Close. That's where they arrested her. The court also heard that Odessa had been mentally ill since she was a young child, around 6 or 7 years old. Doctors said her condition had become worse over time, especially because she was not taking her medication regularly. At the time of the killing, Odessa was believed to be severely psychotic. During the trial, Judge Paul Sloan said Odessa likely suffers from schizophrenia, and that she did not believe the body was her mother's. Because of her mental illness, Odessa was too unwell to face a normal trial for murder, meaning she would be sent to a secure hospital to get treatment for her mental illness. Later, in an interview, her partner Sharon said that even after all this time, Odessa still does not realize her mother is dead. Sharon shared that Odessa has even asked friends over the phone if anyone has seen her mother. Emma Filipoff. Emma Filipoff was a 26-year-old woman who went missing on the night of November 28, 2012, in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Her disappearance remains a mystery, and the events leading up to it were unusual and confusing. Emma grew up in Perth, Ontario. She was a trained chef and had moved to Victoria in 2011. There, she worked at a popular seafood stand called Red Fish Blue Fish, but the job was seasonal. She left the position at the end of October 2012, telling her coworkers she would return the following spring. Around this time, Emma began showing signs that things were not quite right in her life. In November, she had a red Mazda van towed and parked it in a lot. At the same time, Emma was quietly staying at a women's shelter, something her family didn't know about. This was strange because she had money in her bank account and could have rented a place to stay. Her behavior became more unusual when, on November 23rd, she was caught on a security camera at the YMCA walking in and out of the building multiple times. She seemed to be avoiding someone or was afraid to go outside. Emma kept a personal diary while she lived in Victoria, and though she never wrote that she was being followed or harassed, some parts showed signs she may have been depressed. In the days before she disappeared, Emma called her mother in Ontario several times. During those calls, she asked if she could come home, and her mother always told her yes. But Emma would quickly change her mind, asking her mother not to come get her. In their final phone call, she sounded upset and said, "I don't know how I can face you." That was when her mom became very concerned and decided to fly to Victoria right away, even though Emma had begged her not to. Emma's mother booked the next available flight, hoping to help her daughter in person. On the morning of November 28th, Emma was recorded on security footage at a 7-Eleven store where she bought a $200 prepaid credit card. A short time later, she returned to buy a prepaid phone, but she never used it. On the footage, she seemed nervous and paused at the door, looking outside as if she was checking for someone. That evening, she left the women's shelter around 6 p.m. She got into a taxi and asked the driver to take her to the airport, but she got out shortly after because she didn't have enough money for the fare, even though she still had the prepaid card. Sometime between 7:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m., Emma was last seen standing outside the Empress Hotel in downtown Victoria. A man named Dennis, who had met Emma once before, saw her standing at a crosswalk, acting very confused. She refused to cross the street and seemed scared. He asked if she was okay and whether she was being followed, but Emma said she was fine. Still, Dennis felt uneasy about the situation and decided to call the police. 2 officers showed up and spoke with Emma for about 45 minutes. After their conversation, they believed she was not a danger to herself or others and let her go. Emma's mother arrived at the women's shelter at 11 p.m., just a few hours too late. She learned that Emma had been seen by police earlier that night. At midnight, Emma was officially reported missing. Over the following weeks, police and volunteers searched both the city and nearby areas. Divers even looked in the nearby waters, but no solid clues were found. Emma's van was discovered the next day in a hotel parking lot. Inside, police found all of her belongings, including her laptop, her passport, library card, books, and other important items. This was strange, as it looked like she had no plans to leave town for good. The phone she had bought earlier was never activated, and there was no sign she had taken a bus, plane, or ferry to leave the city. Dennis, the man who last saw her, later took a polygraph test and passed. There was also a man from her past who had followed her when she lived in Ontario. He moved to Victoria around the same time she did, which seemed odd. But when police investigated him, they found no proof he was involved and cleared him. In 2014, something even stranger happened. A man walked into a Vancouver store and tore down one of Emma's missing posters. He told the staff, "She's not missing. She's my girlfriend. She ran away because she hates her parents." The man was captured on the store's security camera, but no one has ever figured out who he was. In 2018, a new witness came forward with possible new information. A man named William said that the morning after Emma disappeared, he saw a young woman who looked like her crying on the side of the road. He was late for work that day and drove her a short distance to an intersection in a town called Colwood, near Victoria. Emma told him she was going to visit a friend there, but no one knows who that friend was. Around that same area, Emma's prepaid credit card was found. Someone used it to buy cigarettes, and police tracked the transaction, but again, it didn't lead to any solid answers. Many people have tried to understand what really happened to Emma. Some believe she had a mental breakdown and wandered off. Others think she may have chosen to leave and start a new life somewhere else. A few believe she may have been harmed after police let her go. There was even a theory that she could have had mercury poisoning from working in a seafood place, but this idea seems unlikely and has no strong proof. Emma's mother, Shelly, has never given up. She spent months in Victoria after her daughter disappeared, handing out posters, talking to the media, and following every lead. Even after more than a decade, no one knows for sure what happened to Emma Filipoff, and it may be a long time before the truth finally comes out, if it ever does. Christina Ortiz Lozano. Christina Ortiz Lozano was born in 1991 in a small town in Spain. She was the youngest of 2 daughters and was known for being kind and beautiful. In 2007, while still in high school, Christina started dating a classmate named Abdelaziz Ayad. He was 3 years older than her and originally from Morocco. As time passed, their relationship grew stronger. After more than 10 years together, the couple moved to England in April 2018 to start a new life. They first lived in Liverpool and then moved to Southampton in July 2019. In Southampton, Christina worked for a cruise ship company, and Abdelaziz worked as a baggage handler at the docks. But their relationship started to fall apart. They argued often, and Christina struggled with Abdelaziz's drinking, which made him aggressive. The final straw came on August 24, 2019. Abdelaziz was caught driving drunk, refused to take a breath test, and was arrested. The next day, after another argument, Christina broke up with him. Christina asked him to move out, but he reacted badly. He yelled, broke furniture, ripped doors off, and threw things out the window. Scared, Christina called the police. He was arrested for damaging her home but later released on bail. He was ordered to live somewhere else and not leave except for work. Just a few days later, on August 27th, Christina and a friend saw him walking on the street, even though he was not allowed to. She told the police, and he was warned again. He found out Christina had reported him. He started sending her angry messages and threats on email and social media. He was arrested again for this and for breaking the bail rules. In court, he pleaded guilty and was released again on bail, but this time he was told to stay away from Christina and not contact her at all. Christina told her co-workers she was scared and wanted to go back to Spain to be with her family. Sadly, she never got the chance. On September 20th, 2019, almost a month after the breakup, Christina met a new man named Vicente on a dating app. He was 30 and worked at a hotel. They chatted and made plans to meet the next evening. On September 21st, they met at 7:35 p.m. in Southampton. They went for ice cream and then to a pub called the Giddy Bridge. At some point, Vicente left briefly to buy flowers. While he was gone, Abdelaziz entered the pub. He saw Christina sitting at a table with more than one dish and realized she was on a date. Christina was scared when she saw him, but he simply turned around and walked out. She was surprised but felt relieved. When Vicente came back with flowers, she told him they should leave because her ex had been there. He agreed, and they left together. As they walked home, Christina told him about her ex and how he was not allowed near her. When they arrived at her home, they found Abdelaziz already waiting outside. He said he just wanted to talk and promised not to hurt her. Even though she was afraid, Christina agreed. She told Vicente to wait outside while she went in with her ex. Once inside, he took a knife from the kitchen and attacked Christina. She screamed for help. Vicente, unsure what to do at first, ran for help and asked neighbors to call the police. He then broke down the door and found Abdelaziz on top of Christina, who was not moving. The police arrived at 9:50 p.m. They found Christina on the kitchen floor. Paramedics came quickly, but she was already dead. Police found Abdelaziz hiding in the garden. During the attack, he also got hurt, so he was taken to a hospital. After he recovered, he was charged with murder. Abdelaziz claimed in court that Christina had invited him over and attacked him first. He said he was just defending himself, but the police had strong evidence. Security cameras showed him following the couple, hiding in the shadows, and waiting outside the pub for 30 minutes. He had clearly planned the attack. The trial began on March 30th, 2020, and lasted 2 weeks. It took place at Winchester Crown Court, with a Spanish translator helping Abdelaziz. Witnesses, including Vicente, testified. The jury also saw video footage and heard expert evidence. On March 17th, 2021, Abdelaziz was found guilty. The jury did not believe his self-defense story. He was sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 19 years. Christina's family said they would never forget her joy, energy, and dreams. They said she never gave up and that they would love and miss her forever. Philip Chism. In October 2013, a terrible crime shocked the quiet town of Danvers, Massachusetts. Colleen Ritzer was only 24 and already loved by almost everyone at Danvers High School. She lived with her parents in nearby Andover, filled her classroom walls with bright, kind notes, and smiled at each student who walked through her door. Every weekday, she reached school a little before 7, taught math all morning, stayed after the bell to help anyone who asked, and drove home later in the afternoon. She was patient, cheerful, and dreamed of spending her whole life as a teacher. One of her first-year algebra students was 14-year-old Philip Chism. His family had moved from Tennessee a few months earlier because his parents were getting a divorce. Tall and quiet, he often kept his hood up and spoke only a few words in class. He joined the soccer team and made 2 close friends, but most teachers still knew little about him. His grades were average, and he sometimes forgot homework, yet he once asked for a harder history class so he could push himself. Nothing in his school record showed a risk of violence. Tuesday, October 22, 2013, began with a light-hearted dress-like-your-friend theme. Colleen wore a purple shirt and black pants to match another math teacher named Sarah. Philip did well on a quiz that morning and went to Colleen's math class at 1 p.m. The lesson ended at 1:55, and a help period ran until 2:30 for anyone who wanted extra practice. Only Philip and another student named Autumn stayed. While Autumn drew on the board, Colleen asked Philip friendly questions, such as whether he missed Tennessee. He answered in short, rough words. When Autumn told Colleen, "You're a great teacher," Philip's face grew tense, but no one thought much of it at the time. A hallway camera soon showed Colleen walking toward the girls' bathroom on the 2nd floor. Seconds later, Philip stepped out of the classroom wearing a light blue hooded sweatshirt instead of the red one he had worn earlier. He pulled the hood up, put on white gloves, and slipped a small box cutter into his pocket, then followed her inside. Police later said Philip surprised and attacked Colleen in a bathroom stall. She fought hard but could not break free. About 11 minutes later, another girl walked in, saw only a bare back behind a half wall, thought someone was changing clothes, and left without hearing a sound. Right after that girl walked out, Philip left the bathroom holding Colleen's pants, his right hand covered in blood. He hurried downstairs, hid in bushes to pull on a clean white t-shirt, then went back inside. He grabbed Colleen's lunch bag and tote, tossed them into a large blue recycle bin, and rolled the bin toward the elevator. On the stairs, he met a friend named Ramsey, who noticed Philip was sweating. Philip muttered that he had lost something and told Ramsey to head to the soccer field. When Ramsey left, Philip pushed the bin into the bathroom, placed Colleen's body inside, rode the elevator down, and wheeled the bin outside. Wearing a black ski mask, he dragged the bin into woods behind the school, leaned Colleen against a fence, covered her with leaves. Security cameras later showed Philip entering the school 3 more times to change clothes and wipe surfaces. After 4:30 p.m., he left for good, carrying Colleen's phone, wallet, and underwear. He used her credit card to buy food at Wendy's, purchased a movie ticket for the film Gravity, and stole a hunting knife from a store. Then he began walking toward the next town, Topsfield. When Philip did not come home that night, his mother called police. Just after midnight, officers saw a lone boy walking along the highway and stopped to check on him. Philip said he was coming from Tennessee, which made little sense. In his backpack, officers found Colleen's cards, her keys, and the bloody box cutter. Asked whose blood was on the blade, he answered, "The girl's." Asked where she was, he replied, "Buried in the woods." Police soon found Colleen's body and arrested him. While waiting for trial at a youth jail, Philip attacked a female guard in a bathroom, but staff arrived and pulled him away. This new act added more charges and showed the danger was still present. In December 2016, a jury found Philip guilty of murder, violent assault, and robbery. Because he was only 14 when he killed Colleen, state law required the judge to give him life in prison, with a chance to ask for release after 25 years, the longest time allowed for someone his age. Extra time for the assault and robbery added 40 more years. but all the time runs together, so he could first ask for release when he is about 54. Philip's lawyers said he had a very serious mental problem, though they could not give the illness a clear name. State doctors disagreed. After long talks and tests such as inkblot pictures, they said Philip was pretending to be sick. They pointed to how he planned ahead, brought gloves and a weapon, cleaned up, and used Colleen's credit card. The jury believed the state doctors and did not let mental illness excuse his actions. Colleen's death caused deep pain for her family, friends, and the many students who loved her. Yet kindness grew from the loss. Danvers High now holds a Pink Out Day each fall. Pink was Colleen's favorite color, and a Kindness for Colleen fund helps new teachers pay for college. Kenneka Jenkins. In September 2017, 19-year-old Kenneka Jenkins went to a party at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Rosemont, Illinois. Security cameras showed her walking into an elevator that night. Less than a day later, Kenneka was found dead inside a walk-in freezer located in an unused kitchen area of the hotel. Her death has raised many questions online and sparked several theories. People continued to debate whether it was just a tragic accident or if someone intentionally hurt her. On Friday night, around 11 p.m., Kenneka and 3 of her friends drove her mother's car to the hotel party. At around 1:30 a.m., one of her friends named Irene went live on Facebook from their hotel room. Kenneka doesn't appear in the video, but her other friend, Monifa, does. Just before 3 a.m., Kenneka went missing. An hour later, her friends called her mother, Teresa Martin, to tell her that Kenneka had disappeared after they left her alone in the hallway to get her phone and keys from their room. This raised early concerns. If Kenneka was clearly very drunk, why would all of her friends leave her alone like that? At 5 a.m., Teresa arrived at the hotel and asked the staff to review the surveillance footage. She was told that they couldn't show the footage without a missing persons report. When Teresa contacted the police, they told her she needed to wait a few hours before filing that report. Around 1 p.m., the police informed the hotel about Kenneka being missing and began to search. By 10 p.m., they showed the family a video clip of Kenneka walking through the hotel at around 3:20 a.m. Finally, around midnight, Kenneka's body was discovered in a walk-in freezer in an empty kitchen area. Much of what we know comes from the hotel's surveillance footage, which was later released to the public. In the videos, Kenneka can be seen wandering the hallways alone, stumbling and clearly disoriented. She appears very intoxicated and almost falls several times. She eventually makes her way into the hotel's kitchen, and the last image we have of her shows her walking toward the freezer. Unfortunately, there's no footage of her actually entering the freezer because the camera in that area wasn't working. An autopsy and toxicology report revealed that Kenneka had alcohol in her system, along with a drug called topiramate. This drug is usually used to treat seizures, but Kenneka did not have any known health conditions that would require it, and her family said she was not taking any medications. It is unclear whether she took the drug herself or if someone gave it to her without her knowing. The combination of topiramate and alcohol can make a person feel confused, dizzy, and weak. Based on this and the footage, police believe that Kenneka, while under the influence, wandered into the freezer and couldn't get out. Still, many people, including Kenneka's mother, believe there is more to the story. She finds it strange that they would leave her alone in the hallway when she was clearly not in a stable state. There were also some online posts that appeared to show messages about setting Kenneka up. These messages claimed her friends planned to harm her out of jealousy or for money. But these posts have since been deleted and may have been fake to begin with. There's no real proof linking her friends to any sort of plan, and police have not found enough evidence to charge anyone or even name them as suspects. One of the more extreme theories says hotel staff did it because they are linked to the organ donation center nearby, which was once investigated for illegal practices. And this theory has not been taken seriously by police. The simplest and most likely explanation is that she entered the freezer by mistake and was unable to get back out. Stephen Sean Griffiths. Stephen was born on Christmas Eve 1969 in Dewsbury, England. His father sold frozen food. His mother, Moira, worked as a phone operator but was also dishonest and tricked people. Stephen was very smart in school. He went to a good school but kept to himself. He wasn't really friends with others. He just went to class and went home. When Stephen was 13, his parents separated. He lived with his mother, Moira. She was hardly ever home, drank too much, and was even arrested for taking money unlawfully. Stephen started to dislike her. He saw her with different men in their garden. This changed him. He had an air rifle and liked shooting birds for no reason at all. This kind of behavior is sometimes seen in people who later hurt others. At age 17, Stephen was caught taking items from a shop without paying. When a security guard tried to stop him, Stephen attacked the guard with a knife, and he needed many stitches. For this, Stephen spent 3 years in a youth prison. While there, he told doctors he wanted to hurt many people. He was still let out. After prison, Stephen went to university to study how people think. In 1992, he thought some girls in the library were laughing at him. He threatened them with a knife. When one girl's father came to talk to him, Stephen threatened the father too. He was arrested again and spent 2 years in prison. Doctors there said he had serious problems with how he thought and felt. They said he enjoyed causing pain and was very dangerous. Stephen lived alone in a flat. An old girlfriend said she broke up with him after seeing his flat. Everything was covered in plastic, which scared her. He also had piles of books about real crimes and famous criminals. He studied these books a lot. He liked reptiles and had a pet lizard. He once showed his lizard to a neighbor. To upset her, he fed the lizard a rat right in front of her and laughed when she felt sick. Around 2000, Stephen started dating a woman named Kathy Hancock. At first, she liked his style, but the relationship became bad. Stephen controlled Kathy and kept her away from others. One night, Stephen laughed strangely. When Kathy asked why, he coldly told her, "You're dying." He had put dangerous drugs in her drink. Kathy ended up in the hospital. When she got out, she finally left him. For the next 8 years, Stephen constantly bothered her with phone messages. Some messages begged her to come back. Others threatened her with violence. One scary message was just him laughing crazily. Kathy later learned he left that message right after hurting one of his victims. After Kathy left, Stephen drank a lot and used drugs. He mostly stayed alone in his flat, but sometimes he brought women there. The women knew him and thought he was safe. He didn't want to be intimate. He just wanted company. He would cook them food, let them rest, and have tea with them. This is probably what 36-year-old Suzanne Blamiers thought when she went to his flat on May 21, 2010. But when she entered Stephen's flat, something terrified her. She turned and tried to run. Stephen chased her into the hallway, armed with a crossbow. He dragged her back towards his flat. Then, without hesitation, he shot her with the crossbow. A hallway security camera caught it all. After dragging Suzanne's body back inside, Stephen walked up to the camera and made a rude gesture. Stephen attempted to conceal what had happened to Suzanne. He placed what remained in a large black bag and carried it with him on a public train. A neighbor noticed a strange smell, and when asked, Stephen claimed his pet lizard had died and he was on his way to bury it. During the journey, Stephen lost his phone, which was later found and handed over to the police. On May 25th, police were called about a suspicious bag in a river. At first, they thought it was a football. Dental records confirmed it was Suzanne 2 days later. The day after, the building's caretaker checked the security tapes. He saw Stephen harm Suzanne and called the police. Armed police went to arrest Stephen. He was just sitting calmly in his flat, waiting for them. He gave himself up without a fight. Stephen confessed to hurting Suzanne and seemed to enjoy telling the police every terrible detail. He even laughed about the details. He then confessed to 2 more murders. His second victim was 31-year-old Shelly Armitage. On Stephen's lost phone, police found videos of him during these incidents. He talked during the videos like he was giving instructions and called himself the bloodbath artist. His first victim was 43-year-old Susan Rushworth, a woman who went missing on June 22, 2009. Stephen admitted to the murder. He refused to say where her remains were. Police found her blood in his flat and traces from Suzanne on his cooker, which led some to wonder if he was a cannibal, though this was never proven. Stephen seemed determined to harm at least 3 women to be known as a serial killer. He wanted to be famous like other criminals. On December 21st, 2010, he admitted guilt for harming Suzanne, Shelley, and Susan. He was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of release. Some people think Stephen may have harmed more women, possibly up to 8 others, but he only admitted to these 3. Many believe if someone had stepped in earlier, these 3 women might still be alive. He kept getting worse, and no one stopped him. Lars Mittank. In 2014, a young German man named Lars Mittank vanished in Bulgaria. His story became famous mainly because of a strange security camera video showing his last known moments. Lars, in his 20s, went on a vacation to Bulgaria with 4 friends. They stayed at a popular seaside resort called Golden Sands. For most of the week, they relaxed, went to clubs, and had fun. But things changed near the end of their trip. On July 6th, Lars and his friends watched a soccer game at a local bar. Lars supported one team, but the local people in the bar supported the other team. This led to a big argument that almost became a fight. Lars's friends managed to get him out of the bar before any punches were thrown. Later that night, the group went to a McDonald's. Lars decided to wait outside while his friends went inside to get food. When his friends came out, Lars was gone. They looked for him and thought maybe he went back to their hotel. But when they checked the hotel, he wasn't there either. They decided to go to bed, thinking Lars would show up soon. The next morning, Lars was back at the hotel. He told his friends a strange story. He said a group of men, either Russian or Bulgarian, had attacked him. Lars believed these men were sent by the people he had argued with at the soccer bar. He said during this attack, he was hit in the ear. His friends were confused. The timing didn't make sense to them, but because their vacation was ending and they were supposed to fly home that day, they didn't ask too many more questions. Lars agreed he should see a doctor about his ear before flying. Lars went to a local doctor. The doctor examined him and found Lars had a hurt eardrum. The doctor first suggested surgery, but Lars refused. He wanted any surgery done back home in Germany. Instead, the doctor gave Lars a prescription for a common antibiotic medicine called cefuroxime. The doctor also warned Lars that flying could make his hurt ear worse because of the air pressure changes. He advised Lars to delay his flight home for a few days to let his ear start healing. Lars went back and told his friends what the doctor said. His friends offered to stay in Bulgaria with him and delay their own flights. But Lars insisted they fly home as planned. He told them he would be fine. He said he would find a cheap hotel near the airport for a couple of days and then fly home alone. His friends agreed and left for the airport and flew back to Germany. Lars checked into a low-cost hotel near the airport. This is when Lars started acting very strangely. Around midnight, he called his mother. He told her she needed to turn off all his bank cards and credit cards immediately. He didn't give her a good reason why, and then hung up. His mother was worried and confused. Then at 3 a.m., Lars called his mother again. This time he was whispering and sounded extremely scared. He told her that a group of men were trying to find him and were going to kill him. His mother later said she could tell through the phone that her son was truly terrified. It wasn't an act. After this scary call, Lars texted his mother, asking about the antibiotic medicine the doctor had given him. She told him it was a common and safe medicine. Hotel staff later told investigators that during the night, Lars was seen pacing the halls, hiding in an elevator, and even leaving the hotel for about an hour. No one knows where he went. The next morning, July 8th, Lars took a taxi to the airport. The taxi driver noticed Lars seemed nervous and off, and that his pupils looked very large. Lars texted his mother saying he had arrived at the airport. She had booked his flight home and suggested he see the airport doctor for one last quick check of his ear before flying. Lars went to the airport doctor's office. The doctor looked at his ear and said it was okay for him to fly. The doctor also noticed Lars seemed nervous and paranoid. While Lars was in the office, a construction worker wearing a bright safety vest walked in. He was there to do some work or ask a question. Seeing this man triggered something in Lars. He suddenly jumped up, left all his bags behind, and ran out of the doctor's office. Security cameras captured what happened next. Lars sprinted out of the airport building, ran straight to a tall fence topped with sharp barbed wire, climbed over it surprisingly easily, and disappeared into a wooded area. Since that day in 2014, there has only been one unconfirmed report of someone seeing Lars about a year later, but it couldn't be proven. Despite many searches by his family, police, and private investigators hired by his family, no trace of Lars has ever been found. No body, no belongings, no signs that he lived in those woods. Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old student from Canada who had planned a solo trip along the west coast of the United States. Her parents were strict and hesitant at first, but they eventually allowed her to go, under the condition that she would call home every day. Elisa kept her promise and called them each night during the first few days of her trip. She checked into the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles and was supposed to move on to Santa Cruz. But on the fourth day of her trip, Elisa didn't call home. Her parents became very worried and called the police. Elisa had not checked out of her room, which she was supposed to do by then. When police searched her room, they found most of her things still there. There was no sign of a struggle or anything suspicious. They searched other parts of the hotel and the surrounding areas, but found no trace of Elisa. Investigators later discovered something odd. When Elisa booked her room at the hotel, it was a shared room with other guests. But those guests quickly complained about Elisa acting strangely. The hotel then gave her a private room. Almost 2 weeks passed with no progress. Then on February 14th, the police released strange footage from one of the hotel's elevators. In the video, Elisa is seen entering the elevator and pressing all of the floor buttons. She stands in the corner, looks nervous, and keeps stepping in and out of the elevator. Her movements are odd. At times, she seems to be hiding or running from someone, even though no one else is seen in the footage. The elevator door doesn't close during the whole time she's in there, which is very unusual. Then she disappears from the camera and is never seen again. This video made people wonder what might have happened to her. The police believed that Elisa was not in a good mental state at the time. Oddly, this was the only footage of her, even though the hotel was large and should have had many cameras. As the search continued, hotel guests began to complain about the water. Some said the water pressure was low. Others noticed that it looked dark and tasted strange. The hotel sent a worker named Santiago Lopez to check the water tanks on the roof. When he opened one of the tanks, he found Elisa's body inside. Elisa had been in that tank for over 2 weeks. Her body had started to break down, and hotel guests had unknowingly been using that same water for drinking and bathing. In the elevator footage, she seemed afraid, as if someone was after her. If someone had hurt her, many think it could have been a hotel worker. This would explain why no other security footage showed her leaving the hotel, and how she might have gotten onto the roof and into the locked water tank. Hotel workers would have had access to the roof and cameras, possibly allowing someone to cover their tracks. Also, the elevator behaved strangely. The doors stayed open the entire time, even after buttons were pressed. At one point, the doors started to close but quickly opened again, even though Elisa was not standing in the doorway. Some people think this could mean someone else was controlling the elevator. The elevator video also appears to skip at certain moments, and some believe parts were edited out. All of this led to theories that someone tampered with the video, and if so, it would most likely be someone who worked at the hotel. Other people think she might have been followed or targeted by someone outside the hotel. Another theory is even stranger. Some people think Elisa's death was caused by something paranormal. The Cecil Hotel had a dark history. Serial killers like Richard Ramirez and Jack Unterweger had stayed there. There were many deaths at the hotel over the years. Because of this, some believed the place was haunted. One creepy idea is that Elisa was playing something called the elevator game. This is a spooky online ritual where a person uses an elevator in a certain way to enter another world. The rules say not to speak to a woman who might enter the elevator during the ritual. If you follow the steps exactly, the elevator is supposed to take you to a different dimension. Some people think Elisa might have tried this, made a mistake, and something terrible happened. This would explain why she looked like she was hiding from something that no one else could see. Maybe she was running from something that only she could sense. The final theory is that maybe the official explanation is correct. She took several medications to help her symptoms. Some believe she may have had a mental health episode that led her to behave the way she did and accidentally fall into the water tank. Her toxicology report showed that she had not taken all of her prescribed medication in the days before her death, which may have caused her to become confused or paranoid. In the end, we may never know exactly what happened to Elisa Lam.